monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal Tony. What's going on, brother?
Not much, Corey. How you been, bro?
Been good. Been sick, but good.
Yep, same here, man. I got a touch of it. We were just talking a little bit before, but yeah, the stomach bug got me good. Sounds like it got you good too.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad because like on top of not only so pretty much like at one point I was just basically waking up and dry heaving, and then like honestly I had like on top of that like indigestion issues and heartburn issues, and it was just wrapped up in one night. It was terrible.
You had it worse than me, man. I didn't have it nearly as bad. So yeah, you sounded completely miserable.
It was bad.
I had a better go of it. Mine wasn't nearly as bad. It was mainly stomach just feeling like shit, and but nothing came out, luckily. So yeah, I know. Sorry, listeners. Don't mean to get that disgusting on a horror podcast, but yeah,
this is the true horror.
True, yes, this is the true horror of life. Coming down with sicknesses and issues, and you know,
it's the real essence of body horror.
Yeah, body horror, true body horror.
Oh man, but yeah, so yeah, I was sick and everything, but not all weekend. Thanksgiving was good. We had a great time at Thanksgiving. A lot of family over, stuff like that, and then just that so happened Sunday I just came down with the sickness. Terrible.
The sickness.
It wasn't even intended.
Nope. Yeah, that sucked for me. Yeah, I got sick on Thanksgiving, so yeah, that was wonderful.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. But yeah, I mean, other than that though, man, everything's been pretty good.
Did you watch any Thanksgiving horror films?
Yeah, I did. Well, it's not technically a Thanksgiving horror film. I mean, the guy does turn into a giant turkey, and it's fucking hilarious. But I did sit down and watch Blood Freak. Came out in the early 70s. It's basically a PSA movie about drugs, and drugs are bad, and they'll turn you into a giant turkey, and it's hilarious, dude. It's hard to even explain. It's such a bizarre movie. It's very random, which some of the best movies are.
Almost sounds like a trauma film, really.
You would think it is with a title like that and a premise like that, but it's played so straight because it's a really serious PSA on drug use and why smoking marijuana is bad for you, and it can alter your perspective on the people around you, and you'll mistreat them, and then you'll turn into a giant turkey. It's bizarre, dude. It's such a weird, but it does have that theme of turkey, so it has been lumped in with Thanksgiving horror films because really there hasn't been too many Thanksgiving horror films, sadly. So I guess they're just kind of like grasping at straws to try to come up with a definitive list for Thanksgiving horror films. But yeah, that's on many Thanksgiving horror film lists. So it's one I did check out and just had it's been years since I've seen it, and it was just as bizarre as I remember. So yep, that's the one I did watch. Unfortunately, I didn't get to Blood Rage. I didn't get to that one, unfortunately, but I did watch it a couple months ago, so it's like, I love that movie. I just felt like watching something different, something I hadn't seen in a while, so pop that in instead. What about you, man? You get a chance to watch any?
You know what? I was going to. I was tired right on Thanksgiving. I was like, I'm beat. I'm going to bed. I think I got up the next day. I was gonna watch thinks killing, you know. But the I had the kids, and I was like, this is, I mean, guaranteed boobs right in the first 3 seconds of the film. I mean, you can't.
They make do on that guarantee. Literally,
Yeah, so
that movie.
I was like, I just can't pop that in.
Yeah.
You know. So
Definitely.
I just never got around to it over the weekend. I was going to, but then I got sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, unfortunately, I did not. But it's technically we're recording on the 30th of November, so this is technically still November. So I might pop one in tonight. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Well, if you want, man, I think Blood Freak's on Tubi, so if you want to check it out for yourself.
Blood Freaks, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I mean, can't go wrong with the concept of smoking pot and turning it into a turkey.
Giant turkey. Oh, dude, it's so funny. The way everything goes down, it's absolutely hysterical.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out. But so, folks, we're finishing up our Todd Sheets. What would you say, filmography or director spotlight? I guess you will.
Spotlight, yeah, that's a perfect description for it.
But we're finishing it up with House of Forbidden Secrets from 2013. And again, this film is on Tubi, so make sure that you leave here, you go watch it before you finish the review, because there will be spoilers. I'm almost guaranteed there's going to be spoilers on this one, definitely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you want to get right into it? What's your first initial thoughts, or you want to talk about the synopsis real quick, or how do you? It's a crazy ride of a synopsis, really.
Really is, yeah. It's kind of out there. Yeah, I mean, I could try to summarize the synopsis. So basically, we follow our one of our main characters, Jacob, who is a security guard. It's his first night on the job, so he's kind of getting the walkthrough, what to do and everything like that. He meets up with I guess he's the maintenance guy, our character Jackson. They're kind of doing their walkthrough and stuff like that. The building, getting everything shut down. I didn't understand though if he worked in a museum or what was it. I wasn't 100% on that. I didn't know what was going on, because they're doing their rounds, and then they get into this room, and there's this chicks, and they're doing a seance, and there's a film crew there filming on them. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? What's going on? It's kind of out of nowhere, out of left field.
Well, I took it as it's like a kind of a shopping complex in a sense. Or it's kind of weird because it looks like a building that would have like doctors' offices and stuff in it.
Yeah. But when they cut to the exteriors of it, it looks like a giant museum. Like it looks like it's very weird. I mean, I did notice there was a business address on one of the doors inside the building. So I was like, okay, well, that kind of made sense in a way. But it's just I didn't know. I didn't know if it was supposed to be like they were filming actually in like a residence area or a building that is mainly used for private practices and whatnot. But I wasn't sure if they were supposed to be like, it was supposed to be like a museum. Now I wasn't 100%. But then when we find out later, it's actually get into spoilers, it was actually a brothel. So it could have been a museum or it could have turned into a museum after the sordid history that we ended up finding out. So I don't know. It was, at first I wasn't sure, but that's neither here nor there. They cross these it's a group of women that are performing a seance, and they're being filmed by a film crew. I have no idea why they're getting filmed. I can't remember exactly why.
It's just for like TV purposes.
Yeah, we'll chalk it up to that.
No, I think that's what it's actually explained as.
Very vague. But yeah, so they start the seance and they conjure up evil, and their whole night is surrounded. They're surrounded by, I don't know if they're ghosts or they're zombies or they're demons or what are they? I'm not 100% sure. I know they can kind of like almost teleport, so there's that. But yeah, they're just trying to basically survive the night with the evil that they conjured up, and that's the short and sweet of the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the gist of it.
I mean, that's as simple as I can make it. I mean, there's a lot of strange shit going on in this movie. This is a weird.
So first thing I noticed about the building is, of course, like when it showed the exterior, I actually did like look at that and I was like, oh, that's really like, it's definitely like German style. You can definitely tell that the building, it looks like it's almost as if they were filming in Germany.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. I mean, clearly it's they didn't go to Germany, so it's definitely an American building, but it looked German. Um, the trying to think. The building itself on the inside, I got the feel that I was watching. What was that movie we just watched? Dreaming Purple Neon.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
I'm almost wondering if this was the same location.
Yeah, the exterior or the interiors, excuse me, the interior shot. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing because I did think about that while we were watching the movie, especially when Jacob and Jackson were walking down one of the corridors and you could see the doors and the addresses on there. I was like, oh, this does remind me of like that dentist office in Dream Purple Neon.
Right, and it was in like a shopping complex type deal like that, because it also had there was an elevator in that movie. There was like a water fountain with plants and stuff, and that's in the middle of this lobby of this building. So I'm almost wondering if it was the same exact building.
Yeah, it might have been.
Wouldn't mind picking Todd Sheets' head about that.
Yeah, he might have had. He might have had access to it again when he shot Neon, because I know this was shot before, so
yeah,
was able to get access to it again to shoot some more interior.
Well, even all the basement shots, if that is actually the basement of the building itself, it looked very similar to Dreaming Purple Neon as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
There was like bright colors and it looked old and decrepit down there, dirty and musky. So it just kind of really reminded me of that movie.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. For sure.
Especially the fat guy with the horn nipples.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing I wrote down. I said Todd Sheets has a thing with like nipple trauma. He loves horned nipples and shit happening to nipples, and it's definitely prevalent. Watching his movies, well, we haven't watched all of them, but watching sort of his newer films back to back to back, you definitely see a theme there. I don't know if it's just he's like, oh, fuck it, I can do crazy shit with nipples. Let me just go for broke and just do whatever I want. I don't know, man. It's that's another thing I'd pick his brain about. Like, what's up with the nipple trauma, man?
Yeah.
Love doing weird shit to nipples, man.
Yeah, he does. Well, and then on top of it, I've noticed, one thing about all his films, including this one, the I guess you would say genitalia mutilation.
That too, yeah. For sure.
On men and women, like on this one in particular, you see a person like actually get her legs just ripped apart essentially, and then they just go ham and start eating away.
Which always to me, I've seen it in a couple of movies. That's always one of the gnarliest deaths you can have, is like when someone gets split down the middle like that, pulled apart. I've seen that in a Fulci film called Demonia. I think I've talked to you about that before. One of the more gory and vicious kills. And then I think it's also in Burning Moon. It's a German splatter film from the early 90s. Yeah, exactly. That's another kill, or that's another movie that I've seen that kill in. But every time I do it, it's like, that's just the gnarliest kill you can have on screen. It's just so visceral and so abrasive, and it's, man, just gets under your skin. Yeah. But it's effective. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's effective, and that's why you keep seeing it pop up. So
Yeah. But besides all that, I love the intros to his films, including this one. It was very fun looking at all the kind of prohibition stuff.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was pretty neat.
I thought seeing that, and I wrote it down on my notes. It's like I love how he incorporated the more period correct pictures and shots to shots from present day. He incorporated those in the opening credits so seamlessly. It was really well done.
Yeah.
Got to give him hats off and kudos to him for doing that. It just felt very uniformed and very, it felt very right. Let's just say that, like, all of them were uniformed and they fit perfectly together. So, yep, hats off to him for that. That was pretty cool. But the music and the theme and the score, like, from the opening credits, like, jumped out at me. I'm like, oh, I love this. This is great. And then I looked up, and he actually got Fabio Frizzi to do the score, which was pretty fucking cool. Fabio Frizzi
Wow.
has did a lot of famous Italian horror films, and he's done the scores to them. And right away, as soon as I saw his name, I was like, "Yep, that's what it sounds like to me. That's why I like it so much, because I love his work." So it's so cool that he actually got him involved in this project, and he was able to do the score for this movie. Hats off to him on that too, man. That is so cool. It definitely felt like more of Todd's Italian horror throwbacks. Like, this felt like a homage to Italian horror to a T.
Mm-hmm.
From the lighting to the effects to the nonsensical shit that's going on, like, all of it
Bright
felt,
neon colors.
yes, all of it
So
felt very, very.
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because, and you mentioned Fulci earlier because he dedicated this movie to Fulci.
You did. I did see that on the in credits. Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to so the zombie ghost, whatever the fuck they are.
We don't know what they are.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Now that you say Italian films, they really do remind me of zombies from Italian films. I mean, the I would say the zombies that they probably pop out the most to me as is Manchester Mort.
Okay.
That's I almost or maybe the Beyond.
Yeah,
Those zombies.
I was getting City of the Living Dead vibes, like, because they would just appear and then they would just be gone, and then that's exactly how the zombies in City of the Living Dead were. They would be there and then they'd be gone, and then it's almost like they're teleporting. It's like, what the fuck? Like, that's terrifying. If you're, imagine being in the world's ending, there's zombies, and they're just disappearing and then reappearing in front of you, and they're just constantly. That's fucking terrifying, because you can't brace yourself to defend yourself. You just don't know where they're going to be coming from. And that, as hokey as it sounds, it's fucking frightening, because what can you do if they just appear in front of you? You're fucked, man. There's nothing you can do. So,
well, the reason why I say they kind of remind me of that a little bit is because there's a shot where they're in I think the guy's name was maybe Bruce. I think his name was Bruce, the building manager.
Boss, who's played by George Hardy from Troll 2. He even says the line from Troll 2 in this movie, where he's like, "You can't piss on hospitality." He says it in this movie. I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't believe that they got to say the line. That was fucking great.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry, Corey. Go ahead, man.
But yeah, so pretty much his office was like wrecked, and I think Jacob and Jackson go into his office to try and find him. Mm-hmm. And his office is like a mess, and they turn around, and as they turn around, the zombie ghost or whatever just kind of pops up behind the desk, and then as they walk out of frame, there's another one just standing where they were just standing, and it really reminded me of like an Italian zombie film.
Well, yeah, because they do that. They even do that shot, and they do it in Tenebrae, of course. Like I said, not a zombie film, but in Argento's Tenebrae, when the detective looks up or he looks down, and there's the image of the killer behind him, and then he gets back up and he completely covers the killer. The same thing's done in the bathroom with Jacob when he looks down at the sink and the demon ghost, whatever, is behind him. The demon ghost behind him, and then he goes back up, and it's out of focus. So yeah, they almost recreate that shot in that scene. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
did
there's
notice that.
a lot of Italian influence in this movie, man.
Yeah, huge. Yeah.
Which works for me because I'm such a massive. I mean, we both are massive Italian horror fans, so we notice it right away, even without looking up the trivia or anything. We're like, oh, I've seen this stuff before, so he's paying homage to these movies.
Oh yeah.
Him being a fan, you just know that's what he's doing. It's intentional.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I wrote down. So there's a scene where. So yeah, first of all, okay. So there's a shot where I want to say Casey calls her daughter.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and the drunken grandfather. Lloyd Kaufman. I love the fact that the little tidbit was the little girl was like, yeah, Grandpa and I are just sitting here watching Toxic Avenger.
Of course, it's got to be
Like,
Toxic.
oh, that's awesome. little love for that movie.
Yeah, it would have been great if he was watching Mother's Day or something like that with her. Yeah. Something that his brother directed that movie. So that would have been a neat little. But of course, it's got to be. I mean, Toxic Avenger that's the face of trauma. So that's got to be the movie that they're watching.
Mm.
But yeah, that's pretty good. And he gets on his roll about Maker's Mark, and he's like, I don't want fucking Maker's Mark. I don't want, because he's telling her.
I don't want Jack Daniels.
Yeah. He's like, fuck Jack Daniels. I want Maker's Mark. The whole thing was great. You gotta love a little cameo from Papa Lloyd.
If I ever made a movie, Lloyd Kaufman would have to be in it somewhere.
Yeah. He's got to.
Yeah.
He really do it too, man. He's super cool, man. Lloyd's a great guy.
Yeah.
I still want to meet him at a convention because I hear he's one of the nicest people you can meet. Like he doesn't charge for an autograph. He doesn't that's what I heard anyway. So
wow,
it's
awesome.
Mind blowing to me because if you've seen the prices on some autographs that are at conventions now, it's absolutely mind blowing. But he's still old school where he's like, no, I'm charging for autographs and pictures, just selling my brand. And that's what he does. So
that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to meet him one day.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Like I've met Mark Torgo. We're kind of getting off subject, but I met Mark Torgo, and he's just a nice guy too.
Great too, yeah.
Super nice guy. I didn't get nothing autographed, but just to stand there and talk with him was really nice, you know.
It's really cool, dude. He was promoting Toxic Tutu or something like that, I think, at the time.
He's always promoting Toxic Tutu.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. I met him again.
Because I saw him like 3 years later, and he was still promoting it, and I'm like, damn, dude.
Steadfast, man. He's committed to it. But
awesome.
Yeah, dude. There's so many recognizable faces in this movie, man. And I mean, from you have when we do the flashbacks. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but just talking about the characters that you see Diane Thorne makes an appearance in this movie, who is Ilsa from the Ilsa films. She plays the madam of the brothel.
Madam Greta.
Greta, right?
Yeah.
And you also have Lou Temple, who, most people recognize him from like Rob Zombie movies. He's done a lot of those. He plays Elias, who is the priest.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically our antagonist in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He plays antagonist, which is really weird because usually you see him in most of the movies that you do see of him. He always plays like the scumbag, vile piece of shit human being, and in this movie, he kind of plays on that a little bit because he's very I mean, he's great in the movie. I think he's one of the better performances in the film. Absolutely, because he delivers his he's got such a presence, and the way he delivers his lines, and it's almost seething and just really well. When you know what his character's like, you understand why too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's because I wrote down in my notes as like before I knew he was going to be the antagonist. I was like, wow, it's really cool to see him play a different role. And then I was like, oh, well, never mind. He's still a scumbag piece of shit, even though he is a priest. So I had to like scratch that off completely. I'm like, yep, nope, he's going back to doing what he loves to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it's still my favorite performance in the movie, hands down. He killed it.
I would say he's probably my number one. I like him in this film.
He plays such a good villain. He
Mm-hmm.
always brings it. He's got that personality. He's like when you want a villain in a movie, you get Lou Temple, or you want a scumbag or a seedy character. This is the guy because he does it so well. It's almost his thing. So yeah, he's interesting character. But
Well, not too many people could really like. Not too many people acted well in this movie. Like it's pretty bad.
yeah. Which
I mean, you had some that were okay, but it's like obviously he was number one in my book when it comes down to it.
I mean, Diane Thorne's pretty good too. I mean, she's not bad either. As Greta, she really brings it too. Yeah, she's.
And even Klaus, I don't know who played Klaus, but that character wasn't too bad. He was kind of the muscle of the operation. I like him.
He was also in the Ilsa films too, co-star with Diane Thorne. So it was cool to see them like co-star together in this, being the madam and the muscle of the brothel, like being in cohorts and stuff like that was cool to see them together. But there's there was some rough acting in here, of course. You also get Ari Lehman in this movie. Me and you talked about him a little bit in The Barn, the guy that plays Jason Voorhees, young Jason Voorhees in the original Friday the 13th.
Well, I so when I first saw him, I was like, damn, that dude looks familiar. Like, is he in a band? I couldn't think of it because I mean, he looks like a metalhead, like a rocker,
He actually is in a band, and you gotta take a wild guess on the band name. You know what? And I'm not even the band name is First Jason. So he's right. He's riding the First Jason wave.
Right on.
So yeah, that's he is in a band actually, and he does even Barn played Dr. Rock. So he's a hard rocking dude. He's a metalhead, so that's cool. You only see him for a quick second though. He barely has a line. It's just it's one of those things. If you blink, you miss him. But he is in this too. Just a lot of recognizable faces from horror nerds that see these guys and like, oh, recognize that person, and you see what they were in, and you're like, yep.
Well, I've almost kind of wondered, because these films are lower budget and kind of independent. I was thinking that maybe he does the same thing that I've noticed that James Balsamo does. Like I'll notice like James Balsamo will have like a cast of like 80 people in his fucking movie, and the reason being is because like he's got like small cameos of people, like shots of people at conventions.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, there was one where it was like Killswitch Engage, was in a film, and then like, just a whole bunch of random ass people, like, was it Phil Ozamo? Lloyd Kaufman, just a fuck ton of people. So I almost kind of wonder if he does the same thing, like if he's like at a convention and he's like, hey, can you be in this quick shot,
Well, thinking back of the movies that we've already covered from Todd, I know Linnea Quigley was a big one, but really this is the one movie where he had a pick of the litter with the characters in this movie, a lot more so than I think. I'm just thinking back on characters in the other movies that we've covered. I don't think he has a lot more cameos. That I know of, aside from Linnea Quigley. I think this was the movie where he kind of went all out and got just everybody he could. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty interesting. And the funny thing is, this was one of his earlier movies too, compared to the ones that we saw before. So I don't know, man. Maybe he went all out. I did kind of look up a little bit of trivia, and apparently I think they met at the conventions and struck up a friendship, and a lot of these. A lot of the celebrity cameos he had in the movie. So they're like, oh, we'd love to work with you and this and that. So he's like, all right, cool. I'm working on a project. And sure enough, he got them all on board. So that's cool. I think that's where their working relationship started. So the convention scene, man, you got to love it.
It just goes to show how, close knit the genre is,
Yep. That's
at the end of the day, it's not about, big budgets and money. It's about keeping the genre alive, Yeah,
it's about the relationships and the brotherhood and the camaraderie that there is in the genre. That's why I love it so much, man. It seems like everybody's there, fighting in spirit and keeping the genre alive, and it's awesome to see. That's why I love stuff like this and watching movies like that, because I see, and then doing the research behind it, finding out that it's all started because of the convention scene and then being friends and just striking conversations and seeing each other all the time. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely cool. So what was your favorite scenes of the film?
Well, I was talking to you a little pregame about one of our characters, Hannah, who's like this really, really cute, like goth emo chick, and she's there along with Cassie, who is the girl that's in charge of the seance, is pretty much running it, and she kind of gets separated, and we get the evisceration. I don't know what you would even call it. I always call it the wishbone kill, where they pull them apart. But that happens to her, and I was like, oh, because she's, I didn't want to see it, especially early on. It kind of happened early on, but definitely one of the coolest kills, seeing that happen. But then it's funny, after that happens, I guess they are like ghosts, because she's intact and she makes an appearance in the movie again, and she plays one of, I guess, the zombies. I don't know, man. I'd have to assume that if I had to guess, demons, zombies, ghosts, what have you. I don't know. I'll just say zombies. She does appear again, and she does wreak havoc with all the other zombies.
Well, Jackson finally gets his way, because Jackson is like head over heels in love with her.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So before we get to that, I want to talk about so there's a shot where before they go into their seance or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, the more the merrier." Casey was like, we could use extra people here to channel the spirits, or whatever.
Yeah.
And Jacob's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to mess with this stuff, because I saw this girl one time, and she got exorcised in our church. She started speaking in all kinds of weird languages, and the woman's like, tongue." And he's like, "Yeah, after that, I just told my grandmother to take me home. I don't want to be a part of that." Right? So then she was like, "We could use that here, to help channel the spirits." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Which I thought was weird, because so this is his first night on the job. He's supposed to be doing his rounds. And he's just like in the middle of it, because later on in the movie, he really cares about this job. He's supporting his family. He wants to be a role model to his kids. He wants to do right by his family. But then, right in his first day of work, he's fucking off doing a seance at work. It's funny, It's like he really wants his job, really cares about it and stuff like that. But then he gets hanging out with this dude who's kind of seems like the slacker, doesn't really do a lot at the place. So he's just like, he gets in, hangs out with him, starts doing the rounds with him. He's just like, fuck it, let's just do a seance. He's really easily like persuade. I just thought that was funny.
We could use it, and he's like, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. After that long little spiel about, oh no, I'm a church going man. I don't
fuck around with this shit.
Yeah. And then she's like, well, we can use you. And he's like, all right, cool.
I just thought that was so funny.
Great, dude. Yeah, it's really funny.
But I was getting to Hannah and what she does to Jackson in the basement. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be surrounded by those women, I wouldn't have complained at all.
She raped him on a cross.
Right, yeah. But it was funny because the dude looks like Jesus, and then they crucify him. I was like, well, because he's got the hair, and he kind of has that look. So. Yeah, but that's fucking crazy, dude. Yeah,
that was hardcore.
Is that your favorite scene?
I was like, is she straight up raping him right now?
Well, it was weird because I thought she was just dry humping him. I didn't know that's what they were doing. Because
I mean, there's really nothing there at this point, right? It's just meat and flesh, just kind of all like roast beef.
Yeah,
because they ripped her apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I gotta hand it to Todd, man.
Go there.
His scenes are just so there's like another scene where I think the guy Brad, I think that's his name.
The camera guy?
Is that the camera guy? I'm talking about the guy that goes to put the cameras down in the basement. Remember Bruce is like, hey, I need you to go down there and put cameras down there so we can keep an eye and make sure no one goes down there and messes with the crack in the wall. And mind you, the crack isn't a crack; it's a ginormous fucking hole in the wall.
Very, very. That's another thing that reminds me of the Beyond. That whole
yeah. But those girls, they ripped his face off, and then the scene where they were like just digging his eyeballs out, and it's like, jeez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, he's. I gotta hand it to Todd, man. Like, just all the films I've seen, just the goriest detail.
Yep, the gore is always top notch, dude. It's sickening. I don't know if
gross.
it's sickening as Dreaming Purple Neon, but
definitely not.
No, that's the most sickening gore you'll see. But
yeah,
it works. It's very well executed. The scenes, the shots, just the mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
It's his wheelhouse. Is what he does, man. He does it well. So, and me and you are gorehounds. We love that stuff. So,
oh yeah,
we're all for it.
One thing I noticed with him though is he likes having intestines. He likes intestines.
Yeah, he likes showing the intestines, no doubt about it. I think there's always what is it called? Evisceration in all his movies. That I can tell. Like I said, haven't seen all of them. There's still a couple that I haven't seen, but I'm willing to bet that there's scenes like that in those movies too.
Yeah. Oh man.
Let's push that up.
I wrote down there was at one point I don't know if Jacob was freaking out or something. I forget what was exactly going on, but somebody actually says this isn't a movie, Jacob.
Yeah. Right, a little fourth wall reference there.
Yeah.
The fourth wall.
I love it.
Which is weird, odd.
So what did you think about when they went back in time?
That's one of my biggest issues, man. God, and it could have been so well executed too, but it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. And I love like alternative girls with tattoos and shit like that. But when you see girls with sleeves and they're supposed to be playing prostitutes from the Depression era, it's like, they didn't have shit like that. They could have covered those up or kind of made it look a little bit more of the time. They didn't really. They almost had like a lackadaisical, like, who gives a shit? Like, are people paying attention to those little details? It's like, well, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit and makes me think that, no, it's not period correct. Because not even that, like, most of the girl, like, some of them had half sleeves and full sleeves, and then there was dudes with, like, tattoos, too, that were
piercings and...
Yeah, piercings and shit like that. I'm like...
That shit was frowned upon back in those days.
That it was unheard of back in those days. No one had shit like that in the fucking 20s and 30s. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was a depression. Tattoos weren't common anyway. They weren't a thing. I mean, piercings definitely weren't a thing.
No,
So-
piercings weren't, but tattoos. They, I believe, like sailors and stuff used to get like almost like full body tattoos
Yeah, but like,
because they would visit other countries that would be heavily influenced by them.
yeah, prostitutes at a brothel, and most of the tattoos, you could tell what they were, and they were of stuff that's more common and modern. Like,
Yeah.
you can't really. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. Because it was just everyone had tattoos, and it's like, whoa, shit, man. It's like I could look past maybe one or two, but like it's hard to look past them when everyone has them, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of took me out of it a little bit. That's one of my negatives. I
Yeah.
wish it done a little bit better of just covering those up, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, the costumes and the way it was shot was really cool, and it seemed like the props and everything were correct, which was really cool. Like everything was right. That's what drove me crazy about it was because they spent all this attention to detail on making like the props correct, the clothing, everything correct except for that little detail. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you do that? So simple,
Yeah.
man. Like put sleeves over them or something. Like you don't need to show it.
I guess he wanted to show more nudity than anything. There was a lot
Well,
of nudity in that scene.
He definitely did. There was a lot of topless women. So, I mean, he
Oh,
definitely
I
did
did
that.
see a bottomless woman in there too.
And a bottomless woman, yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, like I love the scenes with Diane Thorne because, like I said, I really liked her performance.
Mhm.
It's just cool seeing her in modern horror films. It's just so cool to see her in modern horror films.
Yeah.
And then her muscle was cool. Klaus, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was cool too. I liked seeing him. That's another thing. It was a negative. It's like, so our main thing is see Diane Thorne's Greta, her character is blackmailing Elias, who is the priest,
Mhm. Who is
she's
now on the town council?
who's now on the town council. This is our flashback, so this took place in, I guess it was the 30s.
I'm
So-
taking it. Yeah.
Right.
Prohibition time.
Prohibition, Depression era, yeah.
Mhm.
So she's sitting there and she's kind of like blackmailing him and kind of turning the screws on him, trying to get him to give her a cut and saying, hey, one of your regulars, the girl that this is odd. I don't think you really do that at a brothel, but they keep a certain girl just for him. Like no one else can touch her. No one else has access to her except for him.
I mean, if he's a high-paid customer,
right, I guess, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how they know that this girl ended up pregnant from him. So that's why she's using that as her, her blackmailing,
Mhm.
out. That's how she's doing it. So she's saying, hey, you basically there's I don't know if it's a police officer or somebody that's giving her shit and her business shit, and she's like basically like, hey, take care of it for me, and then, oh, by the way, you're gonna owe me a lot of money too. So that on top of that, he kind of like gets pissed off, and he comes back with two guys.
You picked up on that?
Two guys, right? And these two guys completely slaughter everyone in this fucking brothel. And we're talking, there was like at least 15 people in that one room. Not to mention like Klaus, who's supposed to be the muscle, and it's just really, really hard to believe that three guys were able to, with knives. They didn't have guns.
It was a knife, an axe, and a machete.
Right. They had bladed weapons. They did not have guns. It would have been a little bit easier to believe if they had guns, but no, just had knives and blades. That's all. That's all they needed, and they completely took out everybody. I'm like, really? There's like 10 dudes there that are huge.
Yeah, but most of them were getting stuff done to them.
Oh, dude, but that shit's just so hard to believe. I mean, I know it's one of those things, but it's like that's fucking funny. And
Well,
then
so he makes reference to how he went and got a whole bunch of guys and brought them back. He does make reference to that.
that's what made me laugh. And then
But there's two guys.
and then Cassie tells Jacob that well, she's seeing that she's all visioning, like she's a medium, so she can I guess she touched the picture of, somebody took a picture of the madam and everybody at the brothel, and when she touched it, she had the sight, so she can see what happened to everybody and what went down. And she even tells Jacob, because Jacob's like, "Well, what's happening? What's going on? What's the deal?" And she's like, "Oh, the priest came back with a bunch of guys." It's like, no, it's just two, not a bunch of guys. So they bring it up twice, which is hilarious to me.
There's one thing that occurs there before like the mayhem ensues. There's a shot where the priest and the like the two altar boys or whatever I think Greta actually calls them his altar boys.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the two guys with him, and they actually start speaking the Lord's prayer before they murder everyone in this place, and it's like, damn, that's fucking brutal.
Yeah,
it was cool.
It's cruel shit, man. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fucking. Dude, they're just. I guess they're like trained assassins or something. I don't know, because they take out every fucking one, and they get kind of like the two, I guess, altar boys get like a weird fucking thrill out of it too, because one dude's licking the blade, and they're just
the other guy's like wrapping the intestines around his neck.
They're like really into it and shit, and it's like, maybe they do shit like that. That's just their thing.
Classic Todd Sheets, just like blood spurt on the nipples.
Yeah,
I was like, there you go. Yeah, they didn't have fake ones back in the day. What is that?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's I don't know, man. It's that whole. It's so cool. Like all the technical aspects of it are really neat. The way it's shot, the filtered, just so it looks period correct. Just I don't know, just those little details kind of took me out of it a little bit, and I was at that point you're really supposed to be into it and like, oh man, the story, but it's like really the story is just all over the place. I mean, it would have been a little more effective had he actually shot that whole sequence of like the time period stuff where they traveled back in time to that era. Mm-hmm.
I think that it would have been a little more better had they done it all in black and white.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been really cool. That would have been a neat touch.
Well, it gets almost disorienting too, because they flash back to it, then they flash back to present day, they flash back to it, and then the priest comes back, and then he's back in the. So it's like really disorienting for a while there too. You're like, well, what's happening? What's reality now? What's like what? And it seems like they get transported back to that time, and I'm like, at this point, I don't know what the fuck's happening. It's all over the place. But yeah, just seeing, because Elias is like speaking like in, what is it called? He's not praying, but he's almost doing like a sermon while he's killing and stuff like that. It's really effective and creepy. And
well, even when he's chasing Casey and Jacob through the basement, he's kind of following behind them, and as he's following behind them, you hear him like preaching, and it's very effective.
Yeah, it's super effective, very effective. Because I mean, Lou Temple brings it, man. Like I said, great performance. But yeah,
I like how he kind of the other thing that I didn't really pick up on until just now thinking about it, but we had a lot of like Irish immigration around that time period and stuff, so it almost seems like he was it almost sounded like he was almost like Irish, with his accent. He was kind of pulling off an accent in the film.
Yeah, going for a little something there.
I thought that was interesting, because it's like, you really think about it, that around the 1930s and stuff, there was a lot of like Irish immigration and stuff around that time period.
Yeah, definitely. that definitely, yeah, I didn't even think about that until you brought that up. But yeah, he was kind of playing with an accent there a little bit,
Yeah.
just put a little bit more to that character, which was pretty cool. Could have been just a stock priest character, but no, he really brought something different to it and something unique. So, I mean, kudos to him for doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a wild ride, man. The third act just goes completely fucking nuts.
It does.
Like many of Todd's movies, they really just go fucking off the wall.
Yeah. This one definitely did. They so the ending, I wasn't expecting the ending, how that happened.
Yeah.
You know. So they go up at one point and there's like this pentagram on the wall. And she starts speaking in tongue and almost like she's channeling into the pentagram. And then poof, they're back in the complex or whatever, you know, and it's like, okay, they couldn't have just went upstairs.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, we're back. So they were thinking that they would just go back into the room and everyone would be alive. And then lo and behold, everyone's dead, including themselves.
Including themselves, yeah, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Interesting ending.
Yeah, for sure.
It was kind of dark because it was almost like, well, and it kind of goes to that residual, you know, haunting that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So it was almost like they were just pretty much just stuck in a time loop at that point.
Yep. Which, with all the disorienting things that were happening, it makes sense too, because they would flip flop back and forth. That kind of made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But did you like? I mean, were you satisfied with that ending? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I think I could have done without the whole phone call to the daughter at the end.
That was my main problem, because I like the quick little cameo by Lloyd, being the jokester that he is, doing the, you know, sprouting out that crazy shit that he was doing, just joking around. But then at the end, when they called again and he was in the background, he was like, I was like, oh man, they didn't need that. Like that
It was overkill.
Yeah, it was overkill. At that point, it's like, okay, you're really the ending is more dramatic, not dramatic, but it's more serious in tone, and then that kind of like deflates that with this jokey comedy, and then it like completely cuts when he makes another joke. Like, I can't even remember what it was. It was, I don't even know. It was like, oh, okay, well, we're not serious anymore. We're back to jokey.
Well, the little girl screams, and then he just like launches like a pumpkin out of his hand or something. It's like,
and then he flips or something. He's like, "Oh, got to go to the shitter," or something like that. I don't know. It was just like, damn.
Yeah,
like,
they could have done without it.
Could have done without that. I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, it wasn't too bad of a film.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen a lot worse. There was a line that I really liked. There was I forget who it was that was getting eaten by the fat demon with the horn nipples.
Yeah.
But the line is, "Choke on me, you big bastard."
Oh man, a little maybe Day of the Dead reference there.
Yeah,
little Colonel Rhodes. Yeah. I can't remember what happened. So the camera guy, I guess I was writing my notes or something like that, and I looked up and it was just Jacob and Cassie. I was like, what happened to that guy? He just fucking disappeared.
he got ate by the horn nipple guy.
That's what happened? Okay, because I missed that. I missed that whole thing. I did not see. I guess I was writing notes or something like that, and I looked down for a minute, and that's why I try to keep watching while I'm doing my notes, because I feel like I'm always missing something. So I try to keep contact. So my notes always. So when I go back and like reference them, I'm like, it's like chicken scratch, man. I can't read it half the fucking time. So I'm like going off of memory. I'm like, oh, that's what that was. Okay. But I get those moments where I missed it because I was sitting down writing notes, probably a longer page or something like that, and I missed it completely because I was wondering. I was like, and I didn't want to rewind it, but I was like, did that guy just fucking disappeared? This is kind of per the course, so I'm like, maybe he did disappear. Maybe he's caught in like the different dimension. I don't know. This movie's fucking weird. It's different. It's
Well,
wild.
so he makes a so he basically makes a suggestion because they walk into a room and there's this guy with the giant horn nipples and stuff, and he's like stuffing his face with like chicken or some shit, and there's like these demon ghosts
Yeah.
surrounding him, and then
Me.
he's actually sitting on top of a cage with a girl in the cage, and at first it looks like just a girl in a cage, because she's even like saying "help me" or something, and they were like, "Fuck it, we'll just run past them." And they're like, they're not that fast, and he's definitely not going to be that fast.
Yeah.
And then after he makes that reference, they go to run past him, and he's the one that gets caught.
Yeah.
The girl in the cage grabs his knee, and then suddenly he just cannot get away from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I got you. That's another thing, man. It made me sick when they went back to the flashback of the brothel.
Mm-hmm.
And the fat dude sitting there, and the chicks are feeding him. I was like, "Oh, it's making me want to fucking throw up, man." Disgusting.
People get off on that shit, dude.
Gross, man. Fuck,
Yeah.
I mean, to each their own. Everybody's got their own thing, but that's fucking nasty.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's gross, man. But yeah, man. Overall, man, this is a fun little ride.
Mm-hmm.
Another fun little Todd. That's one thing about Todd Sheets films, man. They're all fun. They're all a good time. You never watching his movies. There's always something there to kind of draw you in, like the gore, the hot girls getting naked. There's so much that draws you in. You're just like, oh, at the end of the day, I'm having fun.
Or
like, yeah, I have questions. I'm like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Yeah. I get it, man. I love Italian horror, and a lot of when me and you have done it where we've sat down and had somebody that's never seen Italian horror sit down and watch it, and really at the end of the day, they're asking you more questions than anything. Like, well, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. What's going on? This and that. And you're like, sometimes you just got to just roll with it, man, because there's narrative's kind of fucky. So it's not gonna give you exactly what you want as far as answers and stuff like that. And that's why it's so hard to get somebody on Italian horror films, because they're so used to that straightforward narrative that when shit like that isn't happening, then they're confused, and then like, oh, I don't like it. I don't like, because I'm confused. I don't know what's happening. It's like it's like a logic. It's like weird. It's something that's like, it's not reality. It's like a best thing to describe it is literally like a nightmare. Like you're having a nightmare and nothing is making sense in the nightmare, but that's what's happening on screen. But it's cool because weird shit's happening. So it's hard to get into. That's why a lot of people aren't into it. But like I said, me and you love it. We try to get people on it, but it doesn't always work out. But this is one of those movies where it's like you could definitely tell it's a homage to the glory days of Italian horror.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I did want to say, one of the things that I like about Todd Sheets is he does little added touches. Like we talk about the homages and stuff like that. But there's something that he did at the end of the film in the credits that I loved, and that was the death pics.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the film, he showed like Jacob, and Jacob was, it was like old death pictures, where they would take pictures of the people, sitting there with their arms crossed, dead, because they used to do that back in the day. I thought that was a neat added touch to this film. Even right there in the end, he was still doing some awesome stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing Todd does at the end of his films where he's showing pictures of the cast and behind the scenes and stuff like that, the cast and crew together, and it always looks like a fun time, man. He must have one of the most fun sets where everybody's joking around, having a good time. It's stress free almost. It's just like, hey man, we're a bunch of people getting together making a crazy movie, but everybody looks like they're having a fucking good time. So I respect the hell out of that, man. It seems like he's a really good guy to work with. People really draw to him, so that's cool. I love seeing that at the end of his movies too, where everybody's getting together. He has his regulars who keep coming back, and I see why they keep coming back, because it seems like a fun set and it seems like a good time. It seems like he lets them go and just have fun, and he's not really like a tyrant on set like some directors are.
Mhm.
So that's always cool. That's a plus. But yeah, overall, dude, I had a good time with it. Still just a fun. I've had a great time with all the movies so far, man. Todd's fun director.
Yeah, it's been a fun month just covering
Yeah.
his films.
Absolutely
Yeah.
has, man. I'm glad we did that. I'm glad we decided to do like a director
Definitely.
spot. We haven't done one in a while, and doing one on an indie guy was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Kind of makes me want to do more indie films.
Might have to, man.
Oh yeah. Yep. So you ready to get into some ratings?
Yeah.
Cool. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So I'll go first. Like I said, there's something I had a good time with it overall. Gore, top notch. Nudity, gorgeous women, top notch, good stuff. Italian influences, lighting, the cinematography, the score, fun stuff. Loved it. Like I said, had problems with the whole brothel scene with this kind of took me out of it a little bit with that. The ending, unfortunately, did not work for me. I love Papa Lloyd in the cameo, but him being at the end, this is like kind of deflated the overall tone of what he was trying to go for with that ending.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that didn't really do it for me. But like I said, for the most part, though, I had a good time, man. Laughed a bunch. Was in awe. I'm always in awe of the guy's gore. It's just so cool, dude. But at the end of the day, I gave it a 3-star out of 5.
Okay.
Seemed about right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you said. Just overall, this was a fun time. This watch, and
First time watch for me. I have not seen this film before, so
yeah,
that's
this was a first. This was a first time watch for me too. But I will say, so I watched it last week, and then I watched it again this week for the review, just to kind of refresh my mind a little bit. Plus, I was tired last time I watched it, so I picked up on a lot more this watch. I didn't really pay attention to um the the score of the film, because with the Todd Sheets film, your mind kind of drifts away from that a little bit, because there's just so much happening, and I try and focus on all the detail, and the detail. I mean, the eye for detail is really good. There is some shots that I found were just really amazing shots, and they were just the simplest little shots. And it's like, you could tell that he's a damn good cinematographer, you know.
Yeah, I love the
Um,
lighting.
exactly. And even the shots in the basement scenes and stuff, using the bright reds and the bright purples and stuff, and we saw that in obviously Dreaming of Purple Neon, but in this one it really worked as well. Those basement shots with those colors, I love those shots. But just everything, the gore, the acting, I could do that. It could be better, but it works for this film, because this film is not meant to be taken too seriously. So but I do love um Elias and Greta, um those two, and then of course Klaus. I liked Klaus and his silent, persona and stuff. I liked all of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I gave it 3 stars as well.
Nice, dude. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. We're on the same page.
And I teetered for a while, because I was like, 2.5. No, I'll give it a 3. Because at the end of the day, I had a lot of fun watching it.
Even a 2.5 is fair, man. Like I said, I mean, 2.5, 3-star. I mean, it's very fair for this film.
Yeah.
It hits the beats that you want it to hit, but it's not elevated upper echelon indie, which it's okay. I mean, you watch it again, and maybe it'll click for you more. Or, like I said, it all depends on how you're feeling, like what mood you're in. You got to watch stuff like this if you're in a mood.
Mhm.
Of course, like us horror fans, we all get in the mood. Sometimes we want like a psychological horror film, or a slow burn. Sometimes we want a gore flick. Sometimes we want a slasher. I mean, we all have moods that we get in. Sometimes you want a giallo. I mean, you just go through your waves of checking stuff out and checking subgenres out. And like I said, sometimes it'll click for you. I think when I first watched Dreaming Purple Neon, no, I don't think it was Neon. I think it was it might have been Bone Hill Road. It was one of his films I was a little lower on, but after my second watch, I actually raised my score on it a little bit.
Okay.
And that's why I always say, me and you have always said, hey man, give a film a second view. Rewatches are always a must. We champion that. I mean, sometimes you're just not in the right mindset to watch a movie of this caliber or whatever you're checking out. So always go for that rewatch, and maybe it'll resonate with you a little bit more. But yeah, all in all, it's good stuff, dude. Fun. Don't regret my time with it.
Mm-mm. No, I don't either. It was a fun time, even without a beer and a bud.
Yeah, it would have been great. Maybe it would have elevated even more if if we had some beers, and yeah, probably would have elevated a little bit more. Who knows?
But yeah. Well, you got anything else you want to add?
I don't, man. That's all I got.
You ready to land it?
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, folks, we appreciate you viewing in on our episode of Todd Sheets' House of Forbidden Secrets. And make sure that if you haven't watched it, go check it out. We apologize if we have spoiled anything for you. But it is on Tubi for free. So I recommend it. I recommend you check it out because it is a fun little film.
Same here.
But with that, make sure that you head over to our Facebook group and join the conversation there. Join the community, I guess you would say. But it is growing, and we appreciate it, and keep the word going. And essentially, you guys are what's keeping us alive. So we appreciate it, and we hope that you continue on. And thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you again next time.
Next time. Later.
Later.